Hello everyone and welcome. Today we're diving into a huge theme from our AMC course, Savoir, Création et Innovation. That's knowledge, creation, and innovation. And you'll see that the ideas we're about to tackle are absolutely central to the world we live in right now.
So let's kick things off with this quote. It's really powerful. It says, people don't stay silent because they agree, but because it's just gotten too costly, too risky to speak up. I mean, just think about that. This idea gets right to the heart of our topic, which is all about the production et circulation des savoirs, how knowledge gets made and how it gets shared. You know, this is one of the big dangers of our evolution into this hyper-connected digital world, and it really forces us to ask some tough questions. And that brings us to the guiding question for our session today. How have the threats to academic freedom evolved? How have they shifted from, say, direct state control to the kind of invisible pressures of the online world? So here's our plan. First, we're going to look at the traditional, more physical threats that scholars have always faced. And then we'll jump into the new front line in this battle for ideas, the digital world. All right, let's get started.
Okay, so before we can really dig into the threats, we've got to be super clear on what it is that's actually being threatened. We need to define the core principle that's at stake here.
And that principle is academic freedom. Now, this isn't just some dusty term for universities. It is literally the bedrock of how new ideas are born and debated in any healthy, functioning society. It's a big deal. So why is this so important? Well, because this freedom is the engine for critical thinking. It's what gives us all permission to question things, to challenge the way things have always been done. And ultimately, that's what fuels the innovation and progress our whole society relies on. But of course, this ideal isn't always the reality. All around the world, academic freedom is constantly being attacked in some very real, very physical, and very visible ways.
This table here, which draws from the Scholars at Risk archive, really breaks down those traditional threats. It's a pretty sobering reminder that in a lot of places, just doing your job as a researcher or a teacher can put you in real danger, from being thrown in jail to facing actual violence.
I mean, take this for example. This is direct state action. When a government can just lock up a scholar for their work, that's a crystal clear signal. It's an attempt to shut down any challenging ideas and completely control what people think by stopping knowledge right at the source. And in other places, the threat isn't just one person, it's the entire system collapsing. When violence gets so bad that universities have to literally close their doors, it's not just lectures that stop. The entire flow of knowledge just grinds to a halt. And this example really shows the most devastating physical dangers. When research centers get destroyed, you're not just losing buildings. You're losing entire libraries, decades of research, just wiped out in an instant. These are the kinds of threats we've seen throughout history. But the threats aren't just physical anymore. So now let's pivot and look at a new kind of danger. It's one that's way less visible, but in many ways, it's just as powerful at silencing people.
So yeah, the whole game is changing. It's shifting away from classic state censorship, you know, the government banning a book, to something way more subtle. It's called self-censorship, and that's where the psychological pressure, the fear, gets so intense that a person becomes too scared to even write that book in the first place.
And this new frontline, it's the digital world. Online harassment has become a major weapon to silence academics. And what the research shows is that these attacks are rarely random. Nope, they're often specifically targeted based on a scholar's gender, their race, or their background.
And the scale of this is just, wow. It's staggering. A study on health communicators found that 82%, that's more than 4 out of every 5, said they experienced online abuse just for doing their work. 82%. And these attacks have serious real-world consequences. They create what's called a chilling effect, basically an atmosphere of fear that makes experts not want to speak out in public. And here's the crucial point. This does the exact same thing as state censorship. It stops knowledge from circulating, not with laws, but with fear. Okay, let's switch gears a bit. For your exams, like the baccalaureate, you have to be able to analyze these big, complex issues in a really structured way. So, let's quickly walk through how to build a killer analytical paragraph on this topic. It's a simple formula, but it's super powerful. Step 1. You always start by just stating your main idea, your core argument. Think of it as your topic sentence. It has to be clear, it has to be strong, and it has to directly address what you've been asked to do. Step 2, you back up that idea with specific evidence. A really good statistic or a short, sharp quote from one of the documents is absolutely perfect for this. And finally, step 3, you have to explain why your evidence proves your idea. This is where you connect the dots for the reader.
You explain the link, and you tie everything back to the bigger theme, in this case, how all this affects the circulation of knowledge and innovation.
So, to wrap this all up, what we've seen is that the threats to knowledge have really shifted. It's no longer just about the physical bars of a prison cell. It's also about the invisible cage created by online fear. And to answer our guiding question from the beginning, yes, the danger has definitely evolved. It's moved from very visible state repression to this widespread psychological harassment online that basically encourages people to censor themselves. The result, though, it's exactly the same. Knowledge gets stifled. And this matters to you. Why? Because you're not just sitting back and consuming information. You are the digital citizens who are going to shape what online debate looks like in the future. You'll help create an environment where knowledge can either flourish or just fade away.
So I'll leave you with this final question to think about, because it's a perfect bridge to our next axis of study, where we'll look at the power of information. Thanks so much for listening.